Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz. If you missed last week's episode, it is about Michelle Hodges, a planner out of the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Northern Virginia area who has built a very successful business based on referrals and, ready for this, with little social media presence. No networking. I mean, essentially just very little PR effort. Don't we all want to do that? So be sure to listen if you haven't yet. And we've been teasing a big new announcement for The Wedding Biz, which is finally happening today during the beginning of my next guest interview. Yes, you still have to wait a few more minutes. I know it's been annoying. I know you are sitting on the edge of your seat, but we are so excited about this announcement, my whole team, and you're going to hear it really soon. And that is my guest, Julie Sabatino, whose company is The Stylish Bride. Julie is the innovator behind the industry of wedding fashion styling. She works with brides from all over the world to shop with them for their gown, which is the result of a highly specialized and involved approach and process that Julie has honed for over 15 years. And the ultimate result is for her brides to feel empowered on their wedding day. And this can certainly extend well beyond. And that's really only a part of the service that she provides. There's so much more to her story, which you're going to hear about in a moment. And as a renowned expert in the field, Julie is frequently quoted as a bridal fashion expert in publications. I'm sure you've read about her in the New York Times, Martha Stewart Weddings, In Style, Glamour, New York Magazine, amongst many others. She has styled numerous high-profile and celebrity brides since founding her business. And again, I make a major announcement on behalf of The Wedding Biz during the beginning of our conversation, so be sure to check it out. And don't forget to check out our follow-on segment that happens every Monday with each interview release, and that's The Next Level, in which my co-host and I tease out some of the highlights, and we discuss main points of the interview, helping to break down and deliver specific tactics and tips to help you raise your business to the next level. So be sure to listen to that too. And now, my conversation with Julie Sabatino. So, Julie, I have been so excited to have you on the show for two reasons. First, you are just truly a creative entrepreneur in that, from what I understand, you saw a hole in the market and had the guts and the courage to pursue it and fill it, and you're doing so very successfully. And second, this is a big moment right now for the show. At this very moment, I'm making a huge announcement for The Wedding Biz that we are launching a network made up of some of the best in the weddings and events industry world to provide our audience with even more education and inspiration and in a variety of genres. And we are kicking off this network with you, Julie Sabatino. You'll be hosting a show. And the name will be?
The Stylish Bride. What else?
With Julie Sabatino.
With Julie Sabatino.
No, we have to give your name.
Yes.
Yeah, this is so exciting. My whole team, we are so excited, Julie. I mean, you're amazing. Too. Yeah. And so, a little bit later in the show, we're going to get into more detail about what that's going to be about. But if right now you could give me like a general idea, what is the show about and why do you feel we need it so badly in our industry?
It's a great question, actually. And it's something that hadn't really occurred to me until a few months ago when I had a client who was an author. And I was telling her that for years, I have wanted to write a book, but I hate to write. And the reason I wanted to write it was because I feel like I have all of this random knowledge that I have accumulated over the last 15 years that can really help people. And there are so many more people out there that I could reach than just the clients that I have. So my idea with this theoretical book was that I could get the information to them and help them along through the process. She said to me, "What? Don't write a book. That's so hard. Just have a podcast." And I had never even listened to one. So I started listening, realized that, oh my God, I can learn something while I'm walking around the city or, on the subway going to my next appointment.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the medium. And then I found you. And
right.
I was really, really impressed with what you were doing.
Oh,
and
thanks.
I just thought that you're a natural interviewer and the content you were bringing people was so fantastic that I wanted to be a part of it.
Thanks, Julie. This whole medium of podcasting is definitely exploding. It's like a whole new medium. And I mean, I personally listen when I'm exercising, when I'm driving, I'll download for flying, I'll listen while I'm getting ready, and all different kinds. I love it. So, but generally speaking, if you had one statement to make, what is the show going to be about?
I really, truly believe that if a woman feels beautiful on her wedding day, she's not only going to look beautiful, but she's going to have an amazing time. And to me, that comes back to the feeling. And everything I do in my business, and I think the show, will just be another medium to help them understand it, is to help women feel their best and empower them to be their best self on their wedding day.
Yeah, that seems like the key phrase, is to empower them, right? It's such a vulnerable position to be in, I imagine.
It is. And it's, I think, incredibly challenging for a lot of people. It doesn't come naturally to everyone.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that people can apply this even not necessarily just when they're getting married too. So I think this has far-reaching benefits, right?
I think so.
Well, I want to talk about your background because, again, I know that what you created was innovative, the Stylish Bride.
Yeah.
And, if I remember from what I've read, you did see a hole in the market that you felt needed to be filled, and you had your own experience leading up to this. I mean, can you tell me about that? Like, what brought you to this?
Well, it's kind of a funny story, but I was married. I got engaged when I was 24 years old, and I was not one of these girls who had thought about their wedding. I had really never thought about it. I thought I would get married when I was 30, but I met my husband. We fell in love. He asked me, I said to him, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm on my knee." But, at 24 years old, I really didn't have many engaged friends. And this is in 2000. So there wasn't a whole lot out there. You had your bridal magazines, and that was really it. I mean, it was kind of before, well, first of all, there was no social media, but it was before websites were really strong. So, for in the wedding industry anyhow. So really, I found myself completely in the dark about what I should do and not having a whole lot of resources to go to. But, I'm a true A-type personality, and I do lots of research. And even still, I had a hard time finding my own wedding dress. And there were complicated things. I mean, I think truly, as I look back on it, I think that I was so unprepared to be engaged and married that I really didn't know what I wanted to look like. And as I psychoanalyze it, back all of those years, I think, oh my God, I think that it was just sort of a crisis in myself. Like, how can I be a wife? How am I going to do this?
Oh, in a sense, it kind of symbolized a lot more.
I think so. Yeah. I think I felt really like, oh my God, I love him, but am I ready to be married?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the marketplace, dresses had huge skirts, box pleated, really heavily embroidered bodices. The whole look was very different. It was a lot heavier, a lot bigger. And that's not what I wanted. I was young. I was living in New York City. We traveled all over the world, and I felt like I wanted something a lot more modern. And I think combined with not knowing what it was, not having a ton of time to look because I worked in finance.
Yeah.
And my mom did have a different impression of what she thought it should be, which was a lot more traditional. And, I know she meant really well, but we had
mother-daughter.
Yeah, it was hard. It was really hard.
She really was asserting her opinion and all of that?
Well, no, it was just that she cried with the first giant poofy cupcake ball gown that I put on. And she was like, oh my God, that's it. And actually, I'll never forget it. It was in Saks Fifth Avenue, and it was Remacro when Remacro was just starting. And this dress was so big, you could not walk through the door. I mean, it was massive.
Wow.
And it was beautiful, but it was, just not what I wanted.
Yeah.
But she loved it and she cried. And I know that she just meant well and she just wanted what was great, but that wasn't what I wanted. But it was hard for me because her opinion really mattered to me. So, all of these different factors combined, plus really not having a whole lot out there, I got to a point where I was, going to salon after salon, and my boss wasn't very happy with me in finance. And
being away so much? And
yeah, I'm like, I have to scoot out and go to, Vera Wang or whatever. She's like, oh my God, no, you have to stop.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the long and the short of it was I had looked for someone out there like me, what I do now. Yeah. And there wasn't anyone. I thought, God, isn't there somebody that can meet me, figure out what my personal style is, check out where I'm having my wedding, look at my body type and say, oh, you're a perfect XYZ bride. Why don't you go there, talk to this consultant, try this dress on, and be done with it. Yeah. Now, whether or not that was, even something that somebody could have done for me, I don't know, but it was what I wanted.
So in the end, you ended up having to figure this out for yourself.
I did, yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking, from what you're talking, it's such obviously a highly emotional situation that you're in, right?
It is.
I mean, I can't imagine the vulnerability that you're feeling. And again, you're mixing into it and, I'm getting married and what does that mean? And maybe it's all in a sense manifesting through this process, right?
Yeah.
At various moments.
And what I think with the wedding dress, and something I had never considered before that moment, is what image do you want to present to the world? This is your first day that you're going to be a wife. And at the time, I felt like that was very transformative. And I think in some ways it still is, just not in the ways that I had thought it was then.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's, obviously the most serious commitment you're going to make in your life. And how do you want to present yourself to the world? And I think that women have all different parts of their personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always so cut and dry to be able to say, oh, I want to be chic, sophisticated bride on my wedding day. Sometimes you're like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm a little boho too. And I'm a little, you get all of these different things and you don't always know what the right one to go with is.
Well, so is the start of it, figuring out what is your client's personal style, basically?
Right. So I spend a lot of time up front with my clients getting to know their personal style. And, now at this point, after doing it for 15 years, I've really, I guess, honed away on figuring out what makes them feel great.
Yeah.
Because again, it all comes back to that for me. What makes her feel great isn't what's going to make me feel great, which isn't going to be what makes the next person feel great.
Can you be more specific? Like, for example, what? When in terms of your way of finding this style with them and uncovering this?
Yeah. I mean, well, I talk to them. I listen a lot. I want to see pictures. I want to notice their favorite outfits in lots of different situations. But really, it's just getting a feeling for what gets them excited and what makes them feel that true, excitement to be in something. Like, oh, wow, I feel great. I feel confident.
Yeah, but this is so interesting because I'm also thinking how this involves really connecting with them too, personally. Like, I can already tell. I mean, if I was able to have you by my side helping me with all of this, the sense of relief, there's that. There's having, someone next to you by your side with this and helping them to translate all of this. And I'm also thinking, Julie, like, a lot of the planners and designers that I met, they talk about this too. Like, the first step is just simply getting to know the client, seeing how they dress, going to their apartment, their house, seeing what they've decorated with, right?
Yep.
And just talking. I mean,
just understanding
is that a big part of what you're...
It's a huge part of it. And I think it's my favorite part. I think connecting with the bride is the number one thing that I love about my business and that it gives me the opportunity to do. I find it so fascinating to learn about all of these different women and the things that make them tick and excited. And, no two people are the same. And I almost look at it as like a big sociology project where I'm learning about all of these different women and how they feel about themselves and how to express that in their attire.
But also, how do you set aside your own personal taste, right? That's all.
Yeah,
you've got to
it's
keep
an
that,
interesting question.
Right?
Yeah. So I really believe that it's not my dress. And my job is to find them what makes them feel the best. And I think what I excel at is understanding what it is for them. I guide them through it and I'll say to them, okay, I think that if you love this dress here because it's a lancen lace and a trumpet style that has a sweetheart neckline, great. There's a couple more at the next two places we're going to see that I think you should see before deciding. Sometimes I'll say to them, okay, this looks, like something you really love. I just want to make sure you understand that this has a really huge train and you're going to be getting married on grass. You need to just know that that's going to be a lot to manage.
Not everyone's going to think about that.
Right. So it's kind of a combination of, I look at it sort of as like guiding them, and people ask me all the time, well, do you ever have clients that buy a dress that you hate? And it actually happens really, really rarely.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm not putting my style onto them. They're narrowing it down to a selection of gowns that I've helped them curate that are the best for them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I understand. So can we talk about your process?
Sure.
Like I believe I might have seen it in your website or an article. Again, as you say, it starts with a consultation, right? And what is that like?
Well, now I do a lot of them on Skype because my clients come from all over the world. When they're in New York, I love to do it in person. But, usually, first of all, I want to know all about the wedding. So because I work with a lot of wedding planners, I end up speaking to them first. I look at the design boards. I'm familiar with...
Oh, interesting.
Whenever I can get information from the planner, because often they're who refer me, that's wonderful because it really, they can tell me the background of how this bride has come to the decision of the venue and, all of what her likes are. But I often ask the bride the question anyway, because I want to hear how she describes it. So, it could be something like, I noticed that you're getting married at the Breakers in Palm Beach. Tell me what you're thinking about doing with the ballroom. What's the ideal? How do you see the decor? And of course, they don't have design boards at that moment, but they'll say, oh my God, I envision it all white flowers and massive, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's going to tell me a lot about her personal style. If she loves, listen, I know nothing about flowers, so I can't even pull out the right names. But my point is that, I'll look at her pictures and her design and I'll understand, oh, okay, she really needs something that's, classic and modern and a little over the top and design forward, fashion forward.
Yeah.
So, that's part of it. And so understanding the venue is a really big piece, and the time of year, who's in the wedding party, what the guests are going to be dressed like. Is it a formal affair? Is it black tie? Are you not sure? Let's talk about that. And, what you're thinking, what the vibe is that you want.
Yeah. Wow. I'm almost wondering how the hell do they do this without someone like yourself?
They shouldn't. That's the whole point.
Yeah, right. Well, all right. And then what would be the next step?
So after we have this consultation, and, part of it is I look through her closet, I look at pictures of her, we go through things that she's worn in the past that resonate in some way or another. And sometimes her mom is there with us.
Yeah.
And so her mom's like, oh, I think that she's actually da-da-da-da-da. And so it's interesting. I mean, I take all the information in. And then from that, I get inspired about who and which designer she needs to see and where she should go. And then I customize each itinerary for shopping for that bride. So no two are alike.
Yeah.
And I pick the stores and the designers that she needs to see. And of course, I take her input, but, usually we're on the exact same page. So
what about something like body type? Are all women really aware of that and what looks best on them? I mean, how do you address that?
Well, that's actually a really interesting question, and one that I oddly left out. But I think that I do get brides that are uncomfortable with their body type or unsure of what's going to flatter them the best, or have a totally different idea of what flatters them than what is actually true for a wedding dress, because it's a different thing than wearing a lot of clothes that you normally wear.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes those projects they're so meaningful to me. And I love being able to help those brides. And, I've struggled with my own body type over the years, and it can be a really devastating thing for a bride to walk into a bridal salon and not being able to try on any of the samples.
I can't imagine.
And being able to take that bride and give her a great experience and help her through that emotional process is just like a wonderful thing.
Well, are some of them just really super anxious or depressed or whatever about it? I mean, this must bring out a lot of things.
It brings out a lot of things. I mean, you get the brides who accept themselves, and it's a wonderful thing to see. And I will say that I think that millennials and the generation of brides that we're working with now have a lot more acceptance of their bodies than my
that's
generation
interesting.
did.
Really? Why do you think that is?
I think that they're just raised with a lot more acceptance of each other. And I'm so thankful of that. I have kids, I have a daughter, and I hope she grows up in a world that is body positive, and you see all different shapes and sizes now. And I just think that it's more welcome. And I don't know if I'm being, idealistic, but I do see it. I do have brides who have, shapes that they're happy to accentuate.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in my generation, we would want to put on a lot of baggy clothing.
Well, I'm also thinking that even if they are comfortable with their body type, they may not necessarily know still, especially in this case, what's best for it when it comes to this.
No, it's true. And, listen, wearing a white dress isn't always the easiest thing.
Right. I know. Yeah, a lot of people like to wear dark colors and stuff like that.
So there is a whole lot that goes into it. And one of the questions I ask them is, which parts of their body do they like to accentuate and minimize?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to know, oh, hey, I love my, flat stomach, but I hate my arms or whatever it is. And it's funny because even the girls that really don't have anything always have something.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
I mean, aren't some people just really almost like unaware, like they're just wrong, you know, they this vision of themselves.
Sometimes.
How do you deal with that?
I think people are actually harder on themselves than the reality.
Yeah.
I don't come across like a different vision as much as you would think.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, I hate my arms. Everybody hates their arms. And meanwhile, they're
Well, I would think too that there's that there's a element of therapy in a way.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I can't imagine the positions that you're put in.
I know. I mean, listen, I'm with these women and they're, getting changed in front of me and we're spending hours and hours on end together. And, I get to know them really, really well.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I love the most about it.
I would think that, I mean, obviously you're an incredible expert at helping them, to pick out the right dress and all, and other things we're going to get into here. But I think just also having the comfort of, I mean, I'm sure you must become friends and the support that you're giving. I mean, the emotional support around this, that must be, it's got to be huge.
I hope so.
It's got to be.
I hope that that's what they get from it. And, that's what they tell me. And I'm so happy to be able to do that for them and make it an experience that it should be.
So what is the next step then? I mean, I guess we've been talking about the consultation and then preparing the itinerary and, after you figured out the personal style and your shopping, what then? Well,
every bride makes decisions differently.
Yeah.
And so I've learned a lot about decision making over the last 15 years. And what I've realized is that some people try it on, love it, and that's it. Some people have to go back and see it 15 times. Some people have to analyze every dress that they hate and the ones that they love. It's really a process, and learning about how they make a decision is interesting. So with some brides, they come into New York or they live here and we are together for, let's say, a day and a half, and we go to the, salons that are the best for them. And, we work with the best consultants. They have a wonderful experience. It's a great thing because I've worked so long with all of these stores that I can really provide them
I'll bet.
a great experience. Mm-hmm. I feel in a lot of ways like, I'm going to a friend's house when I go into a lot of these salons because I know them so well. So sometimes the bride just needs to marinate on it and think. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're like, great, done, let's go to lunch. Yeah. And sometimes they hem and haw and they can't figure it out. And I get those brides. Yeah. That was me. I couldn't figure it out for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so I also understand that it's not always really about the dress. Mm-hmm. It's about what do you want to look like?
Yeah.
And
feel like.
And, how do you, girls have all sorts of things. Like, what is my fiance going to think? He told me he doesn't like poofy dresses, or, I want him to think that I look like me. And, what are all my girlfriends going to think? And did XYZ's best friend from camp wear this dress 6 years ago? And, whatever it is, it's like, there's so much that goes into it. So I look at the process as really helping them sort through all of that information and analyze it. I am an exhaustive researcher, analyzer, so I sometimes drive myself crazy because I have to look at every single option that's out there.
Yeah.
So I can do that with them, really easily.
I'm also getting really clear to me why party planners and designers recommend you. Also, I know that Brian Raffinelli thinks the world of you and Lynn Easton. Some really big hitters.
Yeah.
Because I imagine in dealing with their brides, and in a moment we're going to get to what else you do, grooms and things like that, bridal party and all of that. But, without this kind of a position, and a little later we're going to talk about what are some tips for people who are maybe not able to hire someone like yourself. Yeah. We'll come to that in a moment. But it seems to me that this is something that planners and designers can also be very well aware of to help kind of guide their brides in some way too.
Absolutely. And, with the planners and designers that I work with, I give back the information. They'll tell me up front, this is the general idea. This is what we know about her. This is da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then I go back and say to them,
oh, you keep them informed.
Oh, 100%. And I'll say, these are the top 3. This is the, she's deciding this. We'll consult the floral designer and we'll say, what do you guys think in this setting? If the bride would like, sometimes it's the decision's made and we just tell them, I send them swatches. We talk about colors. It takes a village.
And so they get very involved themselves too, to some degree?
I just keep them abreast.
Or
so people operate differently. And some people want to be more involved and some people don't as much. And it depends a lot on the client too and what they're looking for from the planner. But, I look at it very much as a collaboration.
Yeah. In a minute, I want to come back to the process, but I want to stay with this point for a little bit longer.
Sure.
So what are some tips that you would give a planner, a wedding planner, if their client is not able to hire someone like yourself? Do you have any general?
Yeah. I think that it's a great question. I think one of the problems out there today is that there's so much information on the market.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I have a business that's thriving is because nobody can possibly process all of that.
Right.
So I have this very small, very specific niche. And a planner has a hard job because they have to have...
They're doing everything.
They're doing everything.
Yeah.
I do not know how they do it.
Neither do I.
I look at them
oh my God.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you're keeping this all together. How do you remember the candle that has to be brought over to the table that grandmom had on her honeymoon? And I don't know how they do it at 7:42. It's like crazy to me. But anyway, I think that they can be honest about what they know and what they don't know. And I think that there's always a strong position in that because I am very upfront with the fact that I know nothing about music, Andy. Couldn't tell you the first thing about what you do or couldn't tell you about flowers or, how to take a great photograph. But I know this. And so I think as a planner, they generally are great at being generalists and really highly organized successful people. So I think a lot of them say that they can give them a little bit of a guide, but they're not the expert. And that's where I come in. Yeah. So, I think that Instagram is a great way to do it. I think you have to be a little bit careful with Instagram because pictures can be really beautiful and the dresses up front can be different.
Oh, there's the pros and cons of this. Yeah.
But I think that, if you have a general idea of which designers kind of make certain things, but...
Well, and also the show that we're about to launch.
Exactly.
Seriously.
They can listen.
Oh
exactly.
my God. Seriously. And also, we're going to have show note descriptions with each one so people can zone in on wherever they think they might need more help. But coming back to the process. So when should a bride start, this process of looking for the wedding dress?
Yeah, well, that's a good question because, the industry standard is to say about a year before.
Oh, what? I'm naive about this. A year before?
Oh, yeah. Well, wedding dresses take a long time to make, but brides today are shopping much closer to the wedding than they used to. So you can incur rush fees and all sorts of crazy things. But millennials don't really understand, I think, in a lot of cases, what do you mean it takes 6 months to make this dress and I can't buy it?
Yeah.
But 6 to 9 months is the sweet spot where you really should have your dress ordered. With that said, I have had people that come to me 2 weeks before their wedding and have hated their dress and need to buy a new dress.
Julie, wow.
Several a year.
And you can pull that off.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I have very, very good connections with designers
that
will do things for me. Yeah, no, so while I tell you they should shop 6 to 9 months, a year, I think we can get anything done, I like the challenge a lot of times, but I think that it's important to have the location, date, and venue set before you shop for your dress. And a lot of brides don't want to do that because they get excited to get engaged and the first thing they want to do is try on dresses.
Right.
But they really, to make the most productive appointment happen for both the store and the bride, is to know those details so that you can go in and, because you're going to wear a different dress to a wedding in Napa than downtown San Francisco.
Okay. And that's where it's related now to venue.
Exactly. So it's important to set the details first. So when you have those, I'd say you can start shopping. But the other thing on the flip side of that argument, I'm always playing devil's advocate in my own mind. I think that the dress sets the tone for a lot. So I have brides that want to buy the dress a year in advance because now a
lot of the decor, even the cake, a lot of things can come from that.
Exactly. Floral design and, guest attire and what's the wedding party wearing. All of these things kind of, come, the dress is really the first step in that.
Wow, this is interesting.
Well, to me, anyway, I don't know.
No, this makes sense to me.
Perspective.
And what about on the wedding day itself? What do you do about that?
Right. So about, let's see, what year is it? So 6 years ago, I broke out the wedding day service of my business into its own entity. And I did that because I was getting a ton of requests to be on site on the day of the wedding. And I could do that for my brides that I had worked with for a year and styled and know their family. But I couldn't do that for people that I hadn't been doing that with because I worked with my clients a lot on the weekends. So I realized that there was a hole in the market.
But can I ask for a moment?
Sure.
On site for what?
So on site for the wedding day. So what we do is we come on. I have 8 people in New York, 8 stylists, them in London, Dublin, and then Boston and Chicago, where we come on site. We steam, press, prepare, dress, troubleshoot, sew, hem, all of the things that can go wrong with this big purchase are what we're there to troubleshoot.
I've experienced this, in my music business, we'll be we do super high-end luxury, high-touch weddings. And there have been moments, obviously the planner, runs out. This is when I used to be at every event and would say to me, hold on. There's a problem with the gown, with the dress, it's like, a whole team of people goes out.
It happens more often than not.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if you're going to spend that kind of money or it's so important, such an important element, got to also be ready for whatever might happen.
It's crazy to me that when people don't have an insurance policy like this, you're spending all of this money and a year of your life trying to plan this.
Yeah.
And, you need to make sure it comes together well. When you travel with a dress, it gets wrinkled. What do you do? Or, there's all of these things that come up. And hopefully they don't happen. But when they do, we're there on site to fix them.
And you mentioned, I guess 6 years ago, this is another aspect. Is there a name for it? How do you?
So, I used to call it the stylish dresser, but I recently rebranded and redid my website after like a year and 3 months in the works. It took forever.
Oh, okay.
It was like birthing a child. But I brought both back under the same name. So I just have the wedding day service and the fashion styling service. And the reason I did that was because people were getting confused with which brand was which. So the stylish dresser really didn't say, oh, that's the wedding day. So people were calling the stylish bride, the stylish dresser. So anyway, I decided to consolidate. The stylish bride is the name that I've had since 2004.
Yeah. I love that title. I think that's it. Yeah.
I trademarked it. So,
So I'd like to take a moment and say that Julie talks all about helping brides to feel empowered and how she creates an experience, which is so important for our clients as part of the process. And another key element of any wedding is the music. How many times have you worked with a band who is not easy to deal with in some way or another, or who really isn't creating that magic, both in your experience of working with them, because that's also an experience, as well as for the couples and their guests? Well, Rhythm 6 is all about creating an atmosphere that is both a joy for us in the industry who must work with bands, as well as for our couples. Rhythm 6's youthful yet seasoned experience makes it like you have a super hot celebrity act, though partying with every single person in the room. Their energy is explosive. So check out Rhythm 6 at theweddingbiz.com/Rhythm 6. That's theweddingbiz.com/Rhythm 6. And now back to my conversation with Julie Sabatino. So can you tell me some stories from a couple, one or two of your favorite weddings?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so
Is that hard? Is that challenging?
I just have had so many that I love. These are incredible experiences. And, some of the projects that I work on where I'm styling the bride and then I style the mother and then I style the bridesmaids and the groom and the groomsmen. You get so involved with the people that when you're there on site with them and, you're watching all of this come together, it's really just like the most amazing experience. And, I've had, you feel like the wedding is this bittersweet moment in a way. You're so happy for them and you love seeing it all come together. But when you're talking to somebody every day for 6 months, a year.
Yeah, and in this close way.
And, we both suffer withdrawal a little bit. And luckily I stay in close contact with a lot of them. But, and then they'll come back and, hire me for an anniversary party or whatever, an event that they have to go to, which is really wonderful. But, we've definitely seen some pretty amazing things.
Oh God, Jill, not only hear from your voice, I can see how passionate you are about this. You love it.
I love it.
God. And okay, you mentioned a moment ago, bridal party, the mother. So you have other services, I'm imagining the grooms and, what about like photos and after parties? And do you get beyond?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I will consult with them. Anything that touches the fashion for the wedding is something that I will help them with. And that can mean, I always attend the fittings with them because making sure that the dresses fit properly is a really important part of the process. there's a functionality piece here. So when you're standing in a dressing room in the salon and you're getting hemmed and pinned and, they're fitting it on you, it's a very different thing than how the dress actually functions on the wedding day.
Yeah.
And, you're walking over, if one of my dear photographer friends will tell you I'm there on the wedding day, I'm like, no, you're not making her go that way. She's not walking in that field. No. They want you to walk down muddy hills and all of these crazy things. But anyway, the way that the dresses function is different than how it is in a fitting room. So I'm there with them to say, okay, let's think about this. You're going to be walking on grass. Let's make the hem a smidge shorter. Or, let's make it a little tighter because this dress is going to grow on you as the night goes on because they get a little looser. It's sort of like jeans where they expand over time.
Oh, sure.
So then it gets bigger, then it drops, and it's longer, and it becomes a whole thing. So I'm there on site with them for doing the fittings. I will help their grooms pick out their tuxedos. I connect them with good rental options if that's what they want. I think one of my favorite things is that I have all these random custom resources to get really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I've got like an amazing vintage cufflink guy. I've got a guy who will make custom bow ties for me and suspenders and, pocket squares. I do custom bridesmaids dresses all the time. Mothers of the bride, we do a lot of custom work.
And I want to say, the reason that I'm asking some of these kinds of questions, about the services is because the show that you're going to have, I think it's really important to state here, and you're the expert and I'm not, I'm learning a lot right now, is that you're not just giving tips about the gown and all of this. This goes way beyond, right? As far as different things to be aware of, tips, techniques, just information to be aware of, right? And I imagine, my God, it's like you could have so many episodes. Is that what you're thinking?
I hope so. That's what I'm thinking.
Is that what you're...
I'm getting so excited as we're talking again. And I think when you asked me first up the question of what's the show going to be about, I felt like I sort of stumbled in a way. But
no, not
at all. What I really, really want is to help people understand how this is actually going to function and what's going to happen on the wedding day, because most brides have never been married
just
before.
Making them aware.
And there's so many pieces of that.
Yeah.
And so many little things that I know that I think can help people.
Yeah.
So, if I can tell you that, I don't know, your bustle should be off the floor every single time when you do it in the fitting, or it's going to be too long and get stepped on. And I can save someone's night that way. By knowing that, making sure their bustle is the appropriate length, and then they're not stopping because of a broken wedding dress bustle.
No, I've seen this at parties.
Of course, it happens all the time.
But I would think that people would be aware of this.
But you've never been a bride before. How would you know that? And the tricky part about the bustle is that it looks more beautiful when it's on the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it's on the floor a little bit, it gets stepped on every single time.
Yeah.
So, in the salon, it's one of those, examples of you're standing there and, oh, it looks so pretty. It's puddled on the floor just a little bit. And the seamstress thinks so. And everybody thinks so. But if I'm there, and it's funny because sometimes I'll attend the final fitting and they'll see me come in. If it's just a wedding day client, and every once in a while I'll go and they're like, uh-oh, here comes Julie. We have to raise the bustle, because I'm such a stickler about it, because then if it's not and it's dragging and it's going to break, I guarantee it. And you're going to take 15 minutes fixing it. Yeah. And that's 15 minutes of your wedding you don't get back.
Yeah.
And if you actually monetize that 15 minutes, like let's say your wedding costs, I don't know, $500,000 or whatever it is, those 15 minutes are actually a lot of money. So why not get it right in the first place?
Wow.
So, and not to mention the experience you're missing, not just monetary, but if I can give people tips like that, and, I never thought of that. I could do this, or just opening their horizons to so many options out there, then I think that it's, I'm so excited to do that.
I'm also thinking, again, to me, it seems to come back to empowering the bride, right? To feel as good as she can. And again, we're talking, I know you have services for grooms and mothers of brides, for everybody, but especially the bride.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking that even tips on how, and this would be for the planner to help guide their bride or the bride for themselves. What about things like how to deal with your photographer to get, because I would think, I know that that's a moment. I just interviewed Christian Oath, a matter of fact. We'll be releasing that. It'll probably be on the show soon. And, just for a bride planner to be aware of things like that, even like, what to look out for, what to maybe communicate, things like that.
And I think that it's important for a bride to learn how to interact with the photographer and how to be on camera before the wedding day. That's why I think one of the reasons engagement sessions have become so popular is because they get comfortable. But it's an important thing. Like, I don't know about you and all of you guys out there, but I 9 times out of 10 hate every picture of myself. So, that isn't something that I've learned for myself, but it's something I can tell my brides for sure. But, we're there to make sure that she's looking great on that day. But also, I hope in the show, I can interview people like Christian and
oh, absolutely,
talk to them about, let's talk about the fashion, what photographs well. So I'm not just talking about the wedding dress, but and then let's talk about, oh my gosh, where they're getting ready. Like those pictures are some of the most beautiful pictures that you see.
I love those pictures.
And if you're not thinking about the setting in advance, you can get ready in these dark hotel rooms that have maroon carpets and they're hideous. And it's those pictures aren't going to be so good.
Right.
Tips like that can really help.
Well, that's great. And also, obviously, for example, if we're talking about photography, a great photographer is going to be aware of that. However, we're addressing everyone out there for any kind of a possibility. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, no, Who knows? It's true. I mean, I think that all of these little details, there's so many.
Well, I'm thinking another big one. What about how to deal with makeup artists and hairstylists? I imagine you have a lot to say about that.
Just a little.
Oh, okay. Did I hit on something really?
No. I think that to be perfectly honest with you, my take on the makeup artist and hairstylist is that at a certain level, they're going to be great and people have different styles. But I think that it's a personality thing in so many cases because that person is going to be literally in your face and right with you for several hours on the wedding day. Yeah. And you want someone who has a good energy to them and that you connect with and that you like being around. Mm-hmm. Because if not, that throws it all off.
Yeah.
I mean, from a stylistic standpoint, there's so many great people out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I love working with people that I connect with. And I think it's hair and makeup. To me, it's finding the right fit.
And also, in terms of the team, I imagine that you're also, obviously, there are a lot of tips, information that planners can use to help guide their brides. What about the other way around too? Even brides, how to deal with the planners. Not that there's any issues or problems. I'm just saying in terms of to help them feel as empowered as possible.
You mean how a bride would communicate with her planner?
That kind of thing. Sure.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I think that the therapy zone, which is our shopping trips,
that's what I'm leading to here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thankfully, I've had lots and lots myself and can really, psychoanalyze with the best of them at this point. But I think that helping people understand how to talk to each other. And
isn't that what it comes down to?
It is. And I'm far from perfect. But when I get the person on the other end, it's sometimes easier to say, oh, hey, have you tried this? I mean, very rarely do brides have conflicts with their planner. I mean it more from what I hear a lot of is the bride having a conflict with their future mother-in-law.
Oh, no, come on.
Future sister-in-law.
Ooh, that's a hot topic. Future sister-in-law?
Oh my God.
I bet you've seen it all.
I've seen several weddings almost not happen because of the future mother-in-law.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. And so it's more like I can walk them through, hey, I don't know. I know your sister-in-law is really, not that great, but remember these things last. And what happens around this wedding, weddings I really feel and have felt since my own personal wedding, they bring out the best and the worst in people.
Yeah.
And you never really know who's going to fall on which side until you're in the moment.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you're shocked and you're like, wow, they're being really awesome. And then sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know what is going on with this person.
Yeah.
And you see it on the wedding day too. Some bridesmaids are not so happy to be there. Some are great. It's really, so I think that when it comes to those types of life experiences and relationships, I talk to them a lot because I enjoy it and because I've seen so much. It's sometimes nice to have an outside perspective, I think.
Yeah, right. Well, as we get ready to wrap up, is there anything more that you would like to say about your show coming up? I mean, this is going to be released, right around launch time.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I really want it to be information that people are looking for. So I think one of the things I feel most strongly about is answering questions from real brides. And I want to talk to them about, what they're thinking and what they're struggling with to help them.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot out there. Weddings are changing, but there's a lot that's sort of set, like your bridesmaid dresses, for example. Like, what are you going to do with those so that your girls don't hate you? I mean, bridesmaid dresses are so bad half the time. It's even more than half the time. And your friends, your best friends and your family are having to wear them. Like, how are we going to work through this to make sure that it's great for you and for them. Yeah. And I hope that I can answer people's questions, guide them through the process like I do with my clients, and really, give them information that can help them and make it a positive experience. Because at the end of the day, this is, it's a wedding, it's a celebration. And we get very caught up in all of these small pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the marriage. And I think that for me, it's a moment where you should be empowered as a woman. And if I can help them do that, I'm very excited to do so.
God, I love this. I can't wait. So Julie, what is the best way to find out more about you, in terms of website and social media handles?
My new website, yay. thestylishbride.com.
Okay.
And my Instagram handle is @thestylishbride.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very, very rarely on Facebook, but you can look it up there too. So yeah. And you can email me. My email's Julie@thestylishbride. And I love to hear from people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're going to provide a vehicle to communicate. People send questions, stuff. We'll get into all that when the show is released, and also in the show notes for this episode, we're going to include all of this. Links and everything like that. And I want to urge everyone to check out this show, The Stylish Bride with Julie Sabatino. And we're going to, again, include in the show notes how to get to it. We'll make it obvious. Maybe we'll insert something later about it. But I'm really excited. And Julie, even just thank you so much for being on my show. Just this alone. Obviously, because no one's doing it. I haven't had anyone like you. And so regardless of the network, you've added a whole nother element. So thank you. This has been a blast talking. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much. It's really been wonderful. And I'm so honored to be on the show. And I'm so excited for my upcoming podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to my conversation with Julie Sabatino of The Stylish Bride. And be sure to check out her show on the network, which we announced during the beginning of the interview. The Wedding Biz Network is now launched effective tomorrow. And Julie is hosting a show, again, called The Stylish Bride. And she is wonderful. So be sure to go to theweddingbiznetwork.com. That's theweddingbiznetwork.com in order to check out her show. Follow us on Instagram @WeddingBizShow for the latest and greatest. And please let everyone know, share this episode, let them know that we have launched this new network. There are some very big surprise people who are going to be announcing down the line who are also hosting shows under our network. So we're very excited about that. Don't forget to check out the next level that goes with this episode. And next week, my conversation with Norma Cohen out of New York City. Wow, she has done it all. Catch you next week, everyone.